Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to CoachX Live with the Institute of Coaching. My name is Jeffrey Hull. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute of Coaching, and I am thrilled to be here today with a world-renowned executive leadership coach, best-selling author, Hortense le Gentil, who is joining me to talk about her new book, The Unlocked Leader. Dare to free your own voice, lead with empathy, and shine your light in the world. What a great title. Anyway, we are thrilled to have Hortense with us today. And before we get started, I just want to see if our comments section is working. So if you want to say hello, I'm not seeing it yet. Let's see, join the chat. Hopefully it'll start coming. I want to welcome everyone from around the world. And as soon as I start seeing where you're coming from, I'll be able to say hello. And we will try, if we can, to get to some of your questions if you have questions for Hortense. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the comments to start coming through, because I don't see them yet. Let's see, let me just check.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Terry.
It's coming in. There's Terry with bonjour. So we're starting to see some folks. So welcome. And if you are not familiar with Hortense, please let me give you a little bit of her background before we dive in. As I said, she is a very well-known, world-renowned leadership coach. She's the author of this wonderful book, which I'm going to hold up, but you may not be able to see because of the way this works on, it's called The Unlocked Leader. And she is extremely well known for guiding CEOs, senior executives on their journey from what she calls hero leaders to human leaders, which I absolutely love. She has 30 years in the business world, working across industries, media, consulting, and advertising, and also as an entrepreneur. She was a 2021 and 2023 nominee for Thinkers 50 Coaching and Mentoring Awards. She was ranked number 5 on the Global Gurus list by the World Management Global Guru Organization. And she's certified by Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder-Centered Coaching, and is a member, like myself, of the MG 100 Coaches. She is very well known in the publishing world, having been profiled in a number of magazines like Harvard Business Review with articles, ThriveGlobal.com, and been featured in Forbes, Fast Company, and Business Insider. So with that, we're now seeing folks coming in from Boston, from Austin. Welcome, everyone. Let's start, Hortense, with a question about your background, because I'm always curious to hear a little bit about how someone moves through the evolution of executive coaching to writing and speaking. So give us a little bit of the story that brought you to write The Unlocked Leader.
So first, thank you for having me, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everyone here. And so I took the scenic roads and to arrive where I am here today. And everything started. I was raised and born in France, as you can hear with my accent. And I was surrounded by horses, and I was passionate with horses and horse riding. I was a short jumper. And when I look back at that time, in fact, I learned a lot about leadership, because it's all about empathy. It's all about communicate with someone who doesn't talk. It's all about, having the right vision, because when you want, to jump an obstacle, you have to be prepared where I'm going to turn, when I'm going to do that, and also be prepared three steps before the obstacle to let the horse jump. And so it's exactly like leadership. Like you need your team. So the horse is your team, and you let your team do what they have to do, and then you let them work, but you prepare, you're here for them, and so on and so on. So I started my journey like that, and I've been working. I came back. I was in Paris at that time also, and I worked with. In large corporations in advertising and communication until one moment I wanted, and as an entrepreneur also. And then at one time, I had a friend of mine who asked me, because I felt like I wanted to change. It was time for me to change, and this is when I found my calling. And a friend of mine told me, "Oh, you should." Can you help a friend of mine who is was an entrepreneur like you are? And by the way, you like helping people.
Mm.
And then at that moment I realized, okay, yes, but and he told me you should be a coach. And I said, what is a coach about? I don't know what is a coach about, but let's help, this person, of course. And then at that moment, when, the first time I did it, I put this hat. I said, okay, so maybe yes. And I understood that everything I've been through in my personal life, professional life, it was like it was to lead me where I am today. So to help people, because I was able to help them very well. For very well, I do my best, but I mean, I felt like I could help them, and it made sense. Everything made sense, like a puzzle, everything put together, and then you see the whole picture, and you say, oh yes, now I understand, and you find the why, everything. And it was a decade ago, something like that. And then I started to coach, to be a coach, an executive leadership coach. And I met Marshall Goldsmith. Marshall asked me to be part of the MG 100. So I came often here in the US to our workshop, regular workshops, things like that. And I wrote my first book, Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be, in 2019. And then I moved to New York before COVID. And during COVID, I thought that m- I thought about everything that I'm doing and the questions that I had at that moment. And of course, all of us, we felt trapped. Uh, it was a difficult moment. And then I was thinking, I cannot help everyone, but maybe I can write a book about that and try to help people to unlock themselves and to be the person they need to be, and or the leaders they need to be, because everyone is a leader, because at least you are a leader of your life, right?
Right.
And then I started the journey again to write a book. Jeff, you know how it is. It is wonderful and painful. But and this is how the Unlock Leader, was born. And from there, I'm still in New York. I live in New York with my husband, and I continue to coach senior executive and CEOs, mostly in America, but some in Europe also. And this is what I do now full time.
It's great. I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, The Unlocked Leader, and I love that title. And there are three primary stages that you talk through in the book. And I'm thinking, we only have a very short time and there's a lot of rich
Yeah.
stories and background, but maybe you could walk folks through. I found this idea of the mind trap really interesting. There's another book by Jennifer Garvey um, who talks a little bit about this, but your particular lens was very interesting to me. Mind trap, mind shift, and then mind build, which I thought was an excellent sort of arc of reflection, mind shift, and change practice, which is what we try to do with our clients, right?
Mm,
So maybe take a minute to walk folks through, at least at a high level, just the framing that you came up with for the book, because it's really rich.
mm. So the first thing, from my experience, when all of us, we are locked somewhere. All of us at one point, we have this feeling of, um, I want to do that, but it doesn't it doesn't work, or what you used to do doesn't work anymore. So it's really this moment, this time where our beliefs, habits, or whatever that help us until now, they don't help us anymore, and then we are trapped.
Right.
We cannot, it's like something is holding us from moving forward, and for everyone. And leadership, it's exactly the same. When you arrive at one point, you are a senior executive, so you change position, you are a CEO now, everything change. You need to change your change hat, change suits, because this is not the same role. The role change, and you need to be more human. You need to take care of people, and then this is at that moment that you need to be aware of yourself limitation, if you will, where you are trapped. Where are we trapped? And try to unlock ourselves and to go to this process of unlocking ourselves. And the first step is you need the courage to look at, to face our fears, because we are afraid. They are afraid. We are afraid. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of um, chaos. We are afraid of um, facing our own emotions and the emotion of others. So the first step is to face our fears, and then to to identify our mind trap. Why, where I am trapped, and then from there. So let me maybe give you an example. It happened to everyone, and it happened to me years ago. I felt trapped in my personal life and professional life. It was 20 years ago, and then at one point, everything went south, and I was sick. I felt sick in bed, and I was stuck in bed. I was completely trapped. And then my grandmother had a dream, and my grandmother came to me. She died. She passed away at that time, but she came to me and she told me, Hortense, you have to find the path of roses. I absolutely didn't know what she was talking about. Path of roses, what is that? And I asked her, where is it? And she told me, she just smiled at me. She just told me, you know where it is. And she disappeared. It was
Ah,
crazy, completely crazy. I was furious. But that will be when I will understand that what she meant was very important. What she meant was you need to listen to your inner voice, not the voice behind, around you, not the social voice who can say, no, you cannot change. No, you cannot be an entrepreneur. No, you cannot divorce. No, you cannot. But what do
right.
you think? What here do you think? What is your inner voice? And then when I started to do that, I started to free myself.
Hmm.
And this is this process I'm talking about. So to face our fears, I was afraid. Yes, of course, I was afraid. And then, to change and to move to find your own path. And then those mind traps. So where are we trapped? To identify the trap, find the source, where it's coming from. So sometimes, often, it's coming from trauma, or how you identify yourself, or things like that, and the voice behind that. So who said that? And then this is his process. And I have a client. I had a client years ago who was expected to be the CEO of the next CEO of his company. And then, in order to do that, what he had to do is to have of course, to have interviews with the board members.
Right.
And out of the blue, his behavior completely changed. He was not the same. He listened. No, sorry. He never listened.
Huh?
So what happened? He didn't get the job. And then he came to me and he told me, Hortense, I absolutely don't know what happened. And I said, okay, so let's figure out. Let's see. And then when we revisit his life, he remembered that years before, he was a student. In order to pass an exam, he had to be in front of, he had to have interviews in front of teacher.
Right.
And one of the teacher didn't let him talk. He
Ah.
he cut it off all the time. And then this A plus student, very well prepared, couldn't express himself. He created a trauma. This is what I call a trauma.
Mm.
And then the teacher told him, you know, young guy, I don't know what you're going to do in life, but I can promise you, you will never be a CEO because we can see all your emotion on your face. Then this poor A plus student left school, graduated, but left school with a trauma and thinking that he cannot be a CEO. And by the way, that if one day he is CEO, he has to not show any emotions.
Mm.
Wrong, wrong, wrong.
Right.
So this is what I call a trap. But it was so, but okay, life go on. He forgot that, and he was very successful until the time came when this prediction came back. So it was a time for him to be CEO,
Right.
and he was not conscious of that. So he, in his unconscious, he was there, and he, in order to be sure that nobody's going to cut it off, he talked, but it was not the right time. It was not the right time, and he was not aware of it. So he was trapped. But then when we realized that, and you realize that, we worked on free himself. And this process of how do I free myself of mind shift.
And what did he do in order to enable a shift?
So I asked him 3 questions that I recommend to everyone. So thinking about that, I told him, okay, the voice behind that was the voice of the teacher, right? And then I asked him, is it true? So what the teacher said, so that he cannot be a CEO. Is it true? Obviously, it was not. Is it relevant? No. And is it helpful today?
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So I told him, okay, maybe it's time to let go.
Let go. Yeah.
And then we worked on letting go, because this is not that easy to let go, right? So
Right.
in order to let go, that means that you don't have to feel any emotion anymore when you think about the situation. So it can take time, but I have some tools in the book for that. So you let go, and then we understand that we are free. And then we say, okay, so what do I think, by the way? And then he did mind build. So he created, or he was connected to himself. He authorized himself to be connected to who he really was. And then he was a very empathetic person. And he decided, so, okay, so what are my values? What is important for me? How I want to show up as a leader? You know what? I want to take care of people. So now, okay, let's do it. And then you define how you want to show up and who you want to be.
And that, I think, is what you're calling in the book mind build, like
And yeah,
almost rebuilding your sense of identity
yeah,
based on a new voice of who you know yourself to be. Is that correct?
exactly. Yes, exactly. This is how you build ourselves, because again, you can write your own story now. So you are completely free. So what story do you want to write? What do you want to, how do you want to be remembered?
I have a thought about the distinction around what many people would consider therapy, like going back into your childhood or looking at your past, and the process that you take with your clients that's really coaching. And I'm curious how you would make the distinction, because I think the way you wrote about it is that you do look back at where sort of this core trauma or this core trap took place, but then you shift into the future. So can you say more about that? Because I think As coaches, we struggle sometimes with like the ICF competencies that we're supposed to stay in the present, ask questions that are very focused on the future. But sometimes the traps are from the past. So, yeah, and you talk a lot about that beautifully in your book. So, if you have some thoughts about that distinction, because you're not doing therapy. I'm a trained psychologist, but I don't do therapy, but I don't avoid looking at past traumas.
That's a very good question. So, in my journey, everything that I do is, of course, based on expertise, experience, and I work with the neuroscience. So, based on neuroscience, psychology, and everything, because you cannot understand people if you don't use those tools, because this is not, we are all a human being, and everyone is very different. So I don't say that what I'm doing is the right thing to do. This is my way to coach.
Of course.
Because what I understood in my life, if I go, like my mother say, my grandmother say, um, if I go my way, it's going to work, because I'm going to help people. If I go another way, something else is better for another person. But for me, it is that. And I don't know if it's, of course, you need psychology but you need a lot of empathy. So how I do with my clients is I don't ask them to lie down and, okay, let's talk about your life. Not at all. We talk about what is the problem now, what do we face. It's all about, how they want to position themselves as a leader, as a person, how they want to position themselves with their team, with the board, for depending of the situation. So we talk about that. And at one point, something happened, and they say, okay, I'm struggling. Okay, so let's talk about the struggle. And then it takes the time that it takes. Some people are very fast. In 1 minute and a half, we found where it's coming from, and then we let go. And
Right.
then we walk every day. I ask them to walk every day on that, because it's a new muscle. Our brain can change. So, but it's a new muscle. We are working on a new muscle. So every day you have to do your daily. I call that daily rendezvous. Marshall calls that daily question. I call that daily rendezvous with yourself, just to check, uh, where you are, if you are still in the right path and things like that. So this is how I do it. And how I learned that is because I was working with a psychologist who was both neuroscientist and psychologist, and I did it on myself.
Right.
And then I said, in fact, I took everything done in my life helped me. This is, and I use it to help people. And I'm still working with I have a mentor who is helping me, and she is a psychologist, because I think and I learn every day. So every day I learn new things, because I'm passionate about that, how our brain works and why we are. But it's not about, I don't need any details. I don't ask for details. If you have details you want to talk, that's fine. But you don't need the details for me. You just need to be aware that you are trapped somewhere. Try to figure out where it is, even if it's an idea, even if you know, it's fine.
And not dwell. I understand. I think you're making a point about reflection and awareness, but not necessarily sitting into the past to a point where it takes you down a rabbit hole of
No,
blame
I
or pain or yeah.
oh, no, 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 because the secret is to give energy to people. So if you fine, my way to go is when I unlock people, when is this time we find, okay, I am trapped here, and we can do this mind shift. It gives you so much energy. So you leave,
Right.
goodness, you feel free. And this is the purpose. The purpose is not to make you, okay, this is bad. Your mother, grandmother will say that. No, no, this is not that. There is no judgment. There is only freedom here. So we don't judge. We are in the gratitude, beliefs or whatever happened. Help us until now, and at one point it doesn't help us anymore, and that's okay. It's like, Jeff, I don't know how you learned how to ride a bicycle, but I had my wheels when I was
Training
young.
wheels,
You
yes.
training wheels. So
We all had them.
okay, so this is exactly that we're talking about. So at one point we need them, and at one point we need to take them to
Right,
take them off, and this is what we are talking about.
right.
Okay, and after you can run because okay, you go even faster because you know how to do it. This is okay.
That's great. So we have one of our listeners who is asking you to speak a little more about legacy, and I think you do talk about that in the mind build section of your book,
Mhm,
of working with executives in particular about reflecting on their values. They become more empathetic when they become more aligned with what they care about and what they want to leave to the world. Let's speak a
mhm,
little bit about that because it's really an important part of the latter section of your book.
mhm. Yeah, it's a very exciting moment because this is again the moment you can write your own story. So how you do that is by reflecting. What do you value? What are your values? How you want to be remembered is something very important for me. So I ask for people to do an exercise. It's very difficult exercise, but you do it when you are ready, or you don't. Everyone is free. Um, to try to imagine. So one way, unfortunately, we will not be there, part of the picture anymore. And then think about your eulogy. What do you want people to tell about you?
Mm,
And then we realize that we are not only the CEO of a company. We are not only a father, mother. We are all that. Father, mother, children, whatever. And then this exercise makes you realize what is important for you.
right.
And then you start your journey to be sure that you're going to be remembered like that.
And then when you're in a role, in a leadership role, you start to recognize that you have the opportunity to be not only in integrity with yourself and writing your own story, but also influencing others to do the same.
Exactly, because you are a role model as a leader. And if you can lead with empathy, if you can connect with yourself, because empathy starts with yourself. So
Right.
connect with yourself, know who you are, be the captain of the ship, and give the vision to your team, to your crew, and but continue to work on yourself. Continue to be sure that you are in the right path, and but be sure where you want to go. I don't go to the flow with the flow, and no, what do you want to do? What difference you want to do to make in the world? So it's a connection with your heart, it's a connection with your soul, or whatever. But this is what we're talking about. For the rest, because you achieved already a lot, and you are not 2 years old anymore, and it's our journey, and we continue to grow, and like that, and that's all.
Great. So we have only a couple more minutes, and I'd love for you to share any final thoughts that you have for coaches that are looking to leverage what's in this wonderful book and to have the most impact that they can have. What would you say to them?
Maybe I would recommend to do the exercise for yourself, and then see if it works. You like it, you don't like it. But I think, as same as a coach, I think we need to know who we are, and do your way, find your way, because this is how things are going to work for you and for your clients, of course, because this is what we want. We want to help people. So how do we want help? How can we help people? There are many ways to do it, but authorize yourself to do your way, because your way is good and it's excellent.
Beautiful. I think it's always a really important message for coaches, and I take it to heart myself, which is to do our own work, because we are the reflection of our clients. We reflect the work that we do on ourselves, reflects into the world and reflects into the client. And so when we develop a sense of empathy, when we are better listeners, when we know our story, then we will be able to share from a place of integrity. And I think that's what your book shares. And it's such a beautiful story. And in some ways, it's so simple, but it's also very deep and very powerful. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. I hope everyone will go out and get a copy of this book, and hopefully we'll have you back with the Institute of Coaching, maybe to do a deeper dive in a webinar. And those of you who are not members, I always have to do a little plug for the Institute of Coaching, because Hortense has mentioned, lifelong learning, neuroscience, and keeping up with the changes. That's what we're committed to at the Institute of Coaching. So please go to our website, make sure that you become a member and take advantage of the incredible amount of resources that are available. Any last thoughts?
No, I think it's time for everyone to. I hope that everyone's going to find your path, find your own path. Go now and find your own path. This is very important.
Thank you so much, Hortense, for taking the
Thank you,
time
Jeff.
to join us. And thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and stay with the Institute of Coaching for more resources, and we'll see you very soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Jeff, for having